Alright, we are now 5 races into the Formula 1 season, and I feel we have enough data at this point that we can truly rank each and every driver on the track. Here we have the best of the best. We have elite drivers, solid drivers, rookies / low tier. The reason I'm keeping rookies in the low tier category is we just really don't know a whole lot really still where they are at this point. And then we have the why are you even here category. So number 1, we have Lewis Hamilton. Clearly he's the best of the best, 7-time world champion, you know, for 5 years in a row now that he's won the title. But yeah, he's killing it. Like right now, he's currently number 2 after 5 races, only behind a guy that we're going to talk about later. But yeah, he is clearly the best driver on the grid, no questions asked. He is the best. Next, we have Valtryek. He is definitely elite. He is not one of the best of the best. You can constantly see that he is nowhere near Lewis Hamilton's pace or even close to it. He is definitely an elite driver, but he's not best of the best. Next up, we have Max Verstappen, and in my opinion, he is the second best driver on the grid, no question about it. Yeah, right now he's actually leading the world championship right now. So yeah, he is probably the second best, and he is the future of the sport when Lewis Hamilton does decide to retire. But yeah, Max Verstappen, definitely an elite driver. Next, we have Sergio Perez. I'm going to put him into a solid driver. We have only seen him We've only seen him be able to win 1 total race over his long career. I always feel like he is kind of near the top part of a solid driver, but definitely not reaching into that elite tier as of yet. Next driver up we have is Lando North. He is definitely going into the elite category just from what we've seen this year. You know, at the beginning of the year I probably would have had him in solid driver, but just from what we've seen this year, he's actually beating Valtteri in the points, and he just looks really, really comfortable, and he's pretty much carrying the team at McLaren right now. But yeah, right now, Lando North, he's 3rd in the Constructors or the Drivers' Championship, and he's absolutely killing it. He's 100% an elite driver in Formula 1. Next up, we have his teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo is definitely an elite driver. He's just not terribly comfortable with that McLaren car yet. He says the car just isn't really driving to his style, that he kind of has to learn pretty much how to drive the car all over again, and so like it is gonna take him time. He has beaten Lando in a race, and I think probably halfway through the year we're gonna start to see Daniel Ricciardo beating Lando North on a much regular basis. So McLaren right now, they have 2 very, very elite drivers. In my opinion, Daniel Ricciardo, 3rd best driver on the grid. Next up, we have Charles Leclerc. He is definitely going to be at the top part of elite. Actually, you know, it doesn't really matter. He's going to be in elite, very similar to Valtteri, you know, Daniel Ricciardo and Lando North. If he has the right car under him, he might even be able to slide up into the best of the best. He is that good, and really unfortunate in Monaco that he wasn't able to race because he did have pole position, and he probably would have likely won that race if he didn't have a gearbox issue, and he's pushing this Ferrari a lot harder than I think a lot of people would have given credit for. Next up, we have Carlos Sainz. He's definitely going into solid driver. He is one of the top, like he isn't quite elite. He's not on Valtteri or Daniel or even Lando or Charles' level. He hasn't won a race over his time. I know technically Lando hasn't won a race either, but you can definitely tell that Lando has a lot more skill than Charles and is more likely to win a championship than Carlos Sainz. I know I said Charles, but I meant Carlos. But yeah, so Carlos, he's a solid driver all around. I don't really have anything negative to say. We're probably going to see him win his first Formula 1 race in the hands of the Ferrari. Next up, we have Lan Stroll. He is definitely going into solid driver. I don't think Lance Stroll is necessarily a bad driver. He gets a lot of shit and he gets a lot of hate for being a paid driver and essentially having his team or his dad buy the team, pretty much cementing his place at that team for Aston Martin. Again, he's done enough in his career to the point where he's had a pole position, he's had a fastest lap, he's even gotten a couple of podiums over his career. He has yet to win a race, but you know what, like, he's always going to be kind of a midfield fighter, solid driver, nothing really more than that. His teammate Sebastian Vettel, right now at this point in his career, I am going to have to put him in a solid driver. You know, the 4-time world champion and multiple race winner. You know, we just really haven't seen it over the last 2 years. And you know what, he did have a 5th place finish here at Monaco, which was really, really solid for him. But other than that, it's, you know what, we just really haven't seen a whole lot. And you know what, he still is a really, really solid driver. You know what, he's just had a spring of bad luck in my opinion. But I don't think he no longer belongs. He's definitely not in best of the best, and I don't think he fits in the elite category anymore. Next up, we have another Formula 1 champion. He's actually a 2-time champion in Fernando Alonso. Right now, I am gonna have to put Alonso. I'm gonna put him in low tier just because he isn't doing amazingly. I just think Fernando Alonso, he's definitely past his prime, and you know, he's obviously came back to the sport because he loved it, but you know what, he's just not doing amazing. You know, I could probably slot him up into solid driver. You know what, that's actually where I'm going to put him, because he is still a pretty decent driver. But yeah, he's definitely on the lower end of being a solid driver. Next up, we have his teammate Esteban Ocon. I am definitely going to put him in the low tier, just because, frankly, I honestly always forget about Esteban Ocon. Like, I just I don't ever see him there. You know, he's had a couple of podiums over his career, but, you know, I feel like he always gets overshined by his teammates. Obviously, one being Daniel Ricardo and the other being Fernando Alonso. All the focus always goes there. And, you know, Esteban Ocon, he's really fighting for just a seat in Formula 1, and for all we know, he's definitely on a hot seat, and he might not be there for too much longer. Next up, we have Pierre Gasly. He is without a doubt a solid driver. He's always going to be finishing kind of close to points or in middle of the points. You know, I think he's found a really solid footing in that AlphaTauri. I think that's probably his best car. I know a lot of people would say that he's probably going to get booted from that seat, but I feel like if he does get booted from that seat, another team would be happy, for instance, like Alpine, to snatch him up right away. Now we have his rookie teammate, Yoki Sanudo. You know, from what we've seen, he had a really good first race weekend where he performed really well during qualifying, but, you know, we just really haven't seen a whole lot from him since. And again, he is a rookie, so he does kind of get to go into this rookie category. Next up, we have Kimi Raikkonen, and I'm going to put him in low tier. Again, he is a former world champion and a former race winner. I just feel like his time at Alfa Romeo, he's just been, like, it seems it's either been like a race weekend where he wants to compete, or a race weekend he doesn't want to compete. And it just kind of seems that way for it. And, you know, I just kind of look at him and I go, he just seems bored out there sometimes. And this is why I think this is his final season in Formula 1. We have his teammate, Antonio Giovinazzi. This is the first guy I'm going to put into the why are you even here category. Honestly, the reason I put him here is because I honestly forget about him every single weekend. I forget that he's there. When he's driving, I hear his name and I go, oh yeah, he's an actual racer. He has done pretty much little to nothing at Alfa Romeo. At least when Charles Leclerc was there, he showed enough talent for Ferrari to say, hey, you know what, we're going to bring you up. And I think, for instance, if Alfa Romeo does want to move away from both him and Kimi Raikkonen, they're probably going to find 2 new drivers that isn't really, and he's not really going to be picked up. Unlike For instance, Pierre Gasly, who, if he does leave AlphaTauri, he will get picked up by a team. And, you know, I can kind of feel like him and Esteban Ocon are kind of in a similar category. They're both fighting for their seat, but, you know, Antonio Giovinazzi, he's just completely forgettable for me. Next up, we have George Russell, and this is going to be the last driver that I put into the elite category. I do think George Russell is elite. You know, we just haven't really been able to see it because he's driving the worst car that could possibly be out there. He's Mr. Saturday for a reason. He's only ever been beaten by, you know, Valtteri Bottas when he was driving for Mercedes for a absent Lewis Hamilton. And, you know, frankly, he should have won that weekend, and I think that weekend last year when he was driving in Mercedes truly proved to everyone that George Russell is indeed elite. And you know what? Like, he's managed to get close to Q3 pretty much all year. But overall, I think he is an elite driver, and if you actually give him a proper car, unlike what the Williams currently has, he is a great driver who's going to consistently get you points. Next up, we have Nicholas Latifi. I honestly believe he is low tier. He's, again, kind of in that same category as an Esteban Ocon, of where, frankly, for him, he doesn't really have the most amount of talent, and if Williams does want to replace him, he can definitely be replaced, and he might get picked up as a reserve driver for a team and then brought back for another opportunity, similar to what happened to Esteban Ocon. But I honestly don't really think that there's going to be much of a brighter future. We need to see, obviously, what he does in a better car. Say, for instance, if he moved into, let's just say, an AlphaTauri car, he might do better, because that can be a somewhat competitive car. I don't know. He's in a Williams. He doesn't really do a whole lot on the grid. So yeah. Next up, we have Mick Schumacher, the son of Michael Schumacher, one of the greatest racers of all times. He is in a horrendous car. He's in a Haas car. You know, he has a lot of potential that's there. I just think he's driving for Haas. It is just a horrendous situation. I think next year there is a mighty fine potential that he actually jumps into an Alfa Romeo seat. Again, not much of an improvement, but still an improvement. And then we have Nikita Maspin. He's going, why are you even here? He finishes last every single race. The only way he doesn't finish 20th is if someone crashes or DNFs. Yeah, he's pretty bad. When the announcers see you spin and they go, we've been waiting for that, like we've been kind of hoping for it, that's when you know you really do have a problem. And Nikita Mazepin is not a great driver. He has yet to do anything. All he's doing is pissing off every other driver on the grid. But yeah, that is my Formula 1 driver tier list for 2021. Again, I'm an idiot, so if you disagree, that's fine. But yeah, peace.